Hello, this is a tutorial. I'd like to talk about how to use mixable characters rig in Unreal and retarget the default robot, the mannequin rig animation to it. So as a result, when you do third person game mode, instead of control a robot, you are able to control a mixable character to walk, to have all the interactions. So I'll be using two models I have right now. One is the girl, another is the Leo, the male version. And you can see the mannequin animation has been mapped into both characters. And here I just simply retarget the pawn from the girl to Leo, and you can see the third person can easily be switched to another character. Right. This video will be pretty long because I will cover all the steps to go through downloading, optimize the rig, and do the retargeting. So yeah, stay with me. So first, before I start, I do want to show a few old tutorials I have. One of these is Unreal Engine 4. I mentioned how to retarget animations, and also there's a diagram and a video to explain the whole process. Since Unreal Engine 4.26, 27, and also Unreal Engine 5, there's a significant change in terms of the rigging. So this video is not that useful for the Unreal Engine 5, but still you can get some good ideas about terminologies related to retargeting and rigging. So check this out. And also another video I explained how to download this package I created before, but this is more a video I explain everything from scratch, how I made this integration of mixable character into Unreal. All right. So I will start from the first where to download the skeletal mesh, the model. Okay. So I think you all familiar with the Mixamo website. This is the place you can log in, you can download. Instead of download the animation, I'm going to download a character. As also you can see, most of the character here is a T pose. We'll talk about this later about the pose. So basically, this is the pose with the skeletal rigging. You can download as FBX. So what I did is I download both version. This is a female version. Also, I download this male version. Okay. So you can get this as FBX file. Once you get FBX file, here I can show you in the download folder. I usually will, rename them to a meaningful file name. Let me just see where is it. Yeah, here's the Mixamo download folder. So here's the FBX is a 55 megabits, right? So I have both version. This is a female version, male version. Then in Unreal, I just simply create a new folder called Mixamo. Create two folders, Girl and Leo, and then I'm going to just simply import the FBX. So here I can show you, just in case you don't know how to import, I will just do a test. And here, if I, drag a character, I'm probably gonna rename this to, I don't know, girl, to just give a short name, um, and then I can drag and drop into my content. And here it will ask you, hey, do you want to input as a skeletal mesh? Yes. Do you want to do animation? We don't have animation, don't worry about it. We do not have existing skeleton to map with it. So basically that's how you bring the FBX here. Okay. I don't need to repeat this. So after you bring the yeah, I can delete this folder. I don't need delete. Here we go. Just keep the project clean. So after you bring the file in, you got a bunch of new files. So important thing is there's also shaders, textures. Usually I do is I create a new folder called material, and then I drag all the material and the textures into this folder just to keep things organized. And here I open every single texture. I add LOD BIOS. That means level of detail, because original resolution is 40 by 96. Is pretty high. You don't really need that high resolution because we are doing the VR. So when it's LOD BIOS 2, you reduce this to 1024. I just make the file runs a little bit smoother. So I did this for all the textures, reduce the resolution to 1024. I also did is open the higher. I changed the higher, which was transparent material. I changed it to masked, a translucent material to mask. It's just a little bit cheaper to run as a mask material. Then I will drag the alpha channel from this texture into opacity mask. So this is something I did manually just to make sure the hair and eyelash looks correct. Right? So I did this for both the girl as well as the Leo. It's a very similar process. Reduce texture resolution, set up the mask material for hair and eyelashes. All right, so that's basically the first step. The second step is to understand the relationship of all the files is generated by the FBX file. So here, as usual, I have created a good diagram just to show you the relationship of files. Hopefully this will make things a little bit easier to understand. Okay, so first we can start with maybe the best way to talk about this is through the Unreal's default third-person template. So there is a pawn, and within the pawn you have skeletal mesh, you have animation BP, you have camera, event graph, and you have movement. So we can start from here just to understand the whole hierarchy. So I assume you already have the third-person package. If you don't, just go ahead, feature content pack, make sure you're adding the third person in. All right, once you have this in, you have a bunch of new files showed up. I will just explain a little bit the hierarchy, the connections between files. So first you have this BP, this is a pawn. You also have this new folder called characters. You should have the mannequins, and within the mannequins there should be meshes. So there's a male version called Manny, a female version called Queen. So this is the two mannequin for Unreal version 5. And also it probably give you this Unreal Engine 4, the older version of mannequin. So they all here, very handy. Okay, so this is the purple color one is called skeletal mesh, right? So just keep in mind they are inside the folder meshes. Okay, so let's go ahead, open the third person BP pawn. I will explain a little bit. Inside the pawn, you have this event graph, which has all the logic about interactions. It's using enhanced input local subsystem. So this is a really nice one compared to the traditional input. And also here in the viewport, you'll see these characters, right? So this is actually linked to the skeletal mesh, all the materials. You also have this movement component, which give you all the control about the speed and also the mode of navigating. So I think the most important one probably is the speed. So sometimes if you want to do a walk instead of run, you can reduce this to 300. Right? So this is basically the logic here. Is a pawn is the BP gonna host all of these component. The most important one besides the skeletal mesh is the animation BP. Okay, so within pawn. So here you can see, if I select this skeletal mesh, here in the animation is linked to this animation BP. ABP stands for animation BP. And this one is actually pointed to another file. So here if I search, I can actually see this file is within animation folder. And this, let's go back here, is this animation BP is actually linked. I should actually add a connection because this two is linked. right? It's a little bit spaghetti everywhere, but I think you got a point. All right, so when the animation BP is linked to another file, yeah, yeah, we'll worry about these lines later. It's a little bit too many lines. Yeah, okay. So when this is pointed to another file, I will go back here. So it's basically pointed to this ABP, animation BP queen. And if I double click, you see this queen is actually the children, right? The parent class is ABP many. That's pretty interesting. So basically, means this animation BP is only pointed to the children of the parent BP. So queen is the children of many. And all the code is actually handled by many, right? ABP many. So within this parent, so if I search for its parent, which is right here, the male version, double click, then you'll see this is all the actual code related to this animation BP. It has an event graph right here, control is logic, as well as animation graph. You can also see the animation graph here, double click. This one's control is, we don't actually need this. Control is logic in terms of how to link to a rigging. So here, if I go to the control rig, you can see in the control rig is pointed to a class, which is mannequin basic food IK. So basically, this is a control rig. If I search, this control rig control how the foot is interacting with the ground. So if you go with a slope, you'll see the foot is kind of in the right height. So here I can show you what exactly the IK foot IK do is, see if I control Leo and make Leo go along a slope, and you can see his foot is always adapt to the height of the slope, right? I mean, in older version of Unreal, the 2 foot is always on the same height, but in this version, because of foot IK, right, you can have a position looks like this, right? So 1 foot is higher than another one. Oh, I have animated objects, so I have to get away. Yeah, this platform, the whole platform is moving. Let me just make it a little bit lower so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so now if I go here, yeah, you see the foot is kind of in the right height. Okay, so this is called foot IK. Yeah, back to this diagram. I know it's a little bit messy now. So you have queen as the children of the many in terms of animation BP. Within the animation BP, you have animation graph and event graph, right? 2 component. And in the animation graph, it has 2 component as well. One is control rig, which is pointed to this foot IK. Besides the foot IK, it also has another component called state machine. So I will actually going back to the animation BP. We know it's right here, right? Go to the parent. So this is the state machine. If I go to main state, and also you have a locomotion state. This is the 2 state machines. The state machine basically define the logic, how this avatar is able to interact with the speed of walking. So it's basically swap animations based on the speed. So here's one for main state. You can have the loop between these multiple animations. So you can see the animation asset right here. But again, we don't have to change anything of this state machine. Okay, so maybe here's a question. We know the state machine defined the animation of this many, right, from walking to jumping to running. But for the queen, which is the children of the many, is inherit all the animations, right? But also it has a way to override the animation because the female version of walking and running is actually different. It's a different animation asset. So here is explained a little bit how this override works. So it's a pretty cool, very smart way to use shared asset. So this, Queen version, if you go to asset override and animation graph, you can see how the idle is actually being override by this female version of standing idle and female version of walk and run. Is right here. If you want to, see this animation, you can click this explore or the search button. You can definitely see this is the animation associated with Queen. So the idle is a little bit different position, same as running forward and and the walk. All right, I think that's pretty much about this part of the diagram is the animation. Animation BP is linked to, let me just make this as a different color. So the animation is linked to the animation BP. You have a parent-children relationship there. All right, so the next thing I like to talk a little bit about this food IK is the control rig. This is the term may be a little bit confusing since 5. Unreal 5 introduced a lot of new features about rigging. So basically, if you right click, if you go to, for example, animation, and here you see this new, features called control rig. That's control rig here. And also you have IK rig, IK rig targeter, and IK rig. So there's a lot of new terms here. And also there's a legacy thing. So I will maybe explain a little bit what is the control rig and IK rig and how this is related to retargeting. So it's a little bit long. So first, let's talk a little bit about control rig. Control rig basically allow you to set up the solvers for a chain of bones. So here, if I open this, the one we linked from animation BP is called food IK control rig. So let's just using this take a look. So in the rigs, I can see this is called where is it? Yeah, basic food IK, right? So if I double click, I can open this control rig, and here has many different component as well as a forward solver, which is basically define the logic of rigging, and there's a bunch of blueprint BP is interacting with the bones. I highly recommend, I would drag the link here, is to watch these basic tutorials in Unreal document under the control rig. It's basically expand a lot of terminologies about rigging and why we do it. Basically, with a rig, you are able to make really cool logics, right? So for example, everything could be procedurally manipulated. You can keyframe the rig movement in sequencer, so you can manually animate characters. You can sort of using Unreal like any other 3D animation software like Maya, Blender, Motion Builder. So here I just show you a little bit, in this food IK, it has basically a logic to evaluate the Z offset of the food IK. So the food is able to move up and down, adapting to the height of the ground. So that is the logic here called Z offset. Okay, so you can check that out. Similarly, by the way, all the IK you have this, skeletal mesh you can associate with. Yeah, so that's how the food IK is associated with the skeletal mesh. So here in my diagram, you can see these two components, solve and skeletal mesh. Okay, the same thing I can open other IK, other control rig. So here's another one. In default, I think Unreal provide you a lot of cool already rigged settings. So this one is called body control rig. If I open, you can see this is very similar like the MetaHuman. You have all the rigs. You are able to click the rig. You can able to, keyframe them in sequencer if you want. So it's pretty nice. You also have this solver and also the logic, right? The rig graph to control how exactly the bone is associated with individual rigs. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to dive into the details because this is covered in the Unreal document. Just make sure you check that out. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty complicated. So besides this rig, there's another rig. I think it's called procedural rig. But again, it's just a different functions you can play with. Okay. Yeah, this is procedurally controlled. All right. I think that's basically the foot IK rig. So the only thing you need to know is this rig, control rig, is control the foot position, right? So it's go up and down when you're navigating, and this control rig has to associate with the skeletal mesh. Okay. Then let's talk quickly about skeletal mesh. Now this one I label as purple color, but you see is actually linked with many other, actors, pawns. So whenever you see this purple is reference to skeletal mesh. So what exactly is skeletal mesh? So here I can open the meshes, right? Oh, this is older version. Meshes. Here we go. So you have a couple of them, four actually. There is a simple version, there's a complete version, and also the queen and the many. These are two separate, right, mesh. So if I open it, you can see this is basically the bone structure. Okay, has a root, has a pelvis, and then all the bones here. I do want to mention this bone seems like follow a hierarchy, right? So for example, the hand belongs to, the shoulder. So you can see the hierarchy. However, when you do the solver with IK means inverse kinematic, is actually using a reversed way to solve the movement of each bone. So keep that in mind. In fact, I can show you what exactly IK means. So in the rigs, I can open this IK mannequin. This is the rig. And here you can see the controllers, or we call the goal. And here, if I move the goal around, right, you can see the whole arm and the body is moving because number one, we're using the full body IK solver. Number two is this is inversed. So the goal is actually driven all the movement. So that's the name of inverse kinematic IK means, right? Oh, by the way, in this version of Unreal, I just want to make sure we cover that, is the full body IK is already a plugin activate. That's the reason you have all the solvers library available for you. Okay, so I think that is about skeletal mesh. Oh, I haven't finished that part yet. So let's go back here. So for skeletal mesh, right, if I open, let's say, many, you see all the bones, right? And also you see associated with two files. One is the physics, right? Another one is the actual what is the name of this skeleton, right? So this two is always associated with the skeletal mesh. Skeleton basically is the one you see here, right? It's the skeleton tree, and also the physics. Which one is the physics? I think this is the one probably. Oh yeah, this is the one, right? This is the physics of the skeleton. So if you run, let's see, a ragdoll, you can see this whole character gonna collapse, right? So this is because the physics simulation. All right, I think that's it about the hierarchy within the skeletal mesh. All right, this is a pretty long talk just to understand the basics of how the Unreal character was set up. Then the next thing I like to talk quickly about the IK rig. This is a little bit different from Unreal Engine 4, the older version of retargeting animation. In the old system, all the bone has to match, right? But the problem is when you have multiple characters, they maybe have a different names of the bone. Maybe the bone hierarchy is totally different. In that case, the new system called IK-rig retargeter is actually using an IK-rig to match the source and the target. So the bone is not individual bone gonna be retargeted, but it's actually the whole rig is retargeted. So here I will explain a little bit, just using the existing one provided by Unreal. So here in Unreal, I think there's a retarget within, let me see, where is it? Here, right, inside the rigs. So it's called RTG, Retarget Manager. So if I open it, you can see this is actually trying to match the simple version with the full version. So here is the source, here's the target. Each of these link to both a skeletal mesh as well as IK, okay, IK rig. So each of these has to be kind of matched. And here you have a control about offside. If I change this to 0, you see they actually match pretty well because they two share the same, right, same shape. And if I zoom in, you can see this is the source. If I click target, source is here, target is here. Okay, so their bone is actually identical. Yeah, so that shouldn't be any problem to match. Okay, so that's how this IK rig retargeter is set up, and each of them is linked to IK rig, right? Which I already covered, but I want to point really quick. So for each IK rig, if I search, right, they all actually point to the same one, right here, and then you have this, right, IK rig. Okay, I think let's start to talk about the mixamo, right? The mixamo characters. We have already input the mixamo here. So how exactly we're gonna, retarget into our mannequin? So I will explain this, but I think there's many ways existing in tutorials. You can search online. The one I use a lot is the plugin Mixamo. It's called Mixamo, which just automatic rename, re-rig the Mixamo to match with Unreal Engine 5 mannequin. It's just a little bit easier. You don't have to manually set up the bones, manually set up the solvers and goals. So I like to use it. It's only 40 bucks. I think it's totally worth it. All right, so we have this plugin activate. Then the only thing after you have this plugin is to find the skeleton, right? Go back here. You find the skeleton you want to map to the mannequin or anything else. You right click, then you want to retarget. So here's a, let me see, where is the skeleton? So here's the skeleton, right? Within the skeleton mesh, and this one can be retargeted into another rig. So I will just simply point this to this. Okay, so that's how it works. All right. Yeah, we just definitely need a better way to organize it. Yeah, but anyway, we'll do that later. Okay, so I will go back here, find the skeleton. So this is my mesh, right? Skeletal mesh, and this is the skeleton. You see, it's a little different. Skeleton is a blue color. So here I can right click, right? Since I already did the couple of this already, so you have this option. It's called retarget mixable skeletal asset. You probably don't have this option because you haven't do that before. So I will just do the retarget, right? Then you try to make a connection. Hey, which target you like to point to? And then at this point, you have the options. You can do, this is older version of mannequin. If you roll over, you'll see this is, actually, this is a new version, sorry. Yeah, the second one is the old version. So pick the new one and click select. That's it, right? I don't have to do right now since I did already. So that's how you generate. All right, so let's continue. Once you generate this retargeting, there are a bunch of new files will pop up. So, for example, the rigging is automatically pop up. And oh, sorry, this is not the IK rig. This is control rig. So why not I close all the manuals? It's a little bit too many. I don't need this. I don't need this. Okay, just get rid of them. All right. So it generated a bunch of new files. You can actually tell from the icon. If you see there's a tiny, like a human figure here, this is control rig. But if you see a yellow color with this kind of IK go, this is IK rig. So the control rig, IK rig. The Maximo plugin can automatically generate the IK rig. So double click, you see this exactly like the one I just showed. So here you can, move. You can see the character try to adapt to that. Okay, so that's automatically done. So you have basically everything ready to do this IK retargeter, right? So back here, it generates these two IK retargeter, and the first one is mapping the mannequin to Mixamo. The second is mapping the Mixamo to mannequin, right? So you can have both ways you can do the mapping. So I will double click the second one. This is basically using here again, the source is mannequin, target is the Mixamo, is a pose. This is what we need because we want to mapping the walking, running animation associated with mannequin to this girl, right? So later when we control the third person character, she's able to jump, run, walk exactly like the mannequin. So this is basically the source is mannequin, the target is the girl. And you can see everything is already set it up. So you have IK linked to the IK of the mannequin, the skeletal mesh with the queen. It actually doesn't matter. This could be the many. And the target will be the girl, which is the skeletal mesh and also the IK, right? So these are two different ones. I do want to point out, if you pay attention to these bones, you see the bone structure is a little bit different. So in the mannequin, you see here is like a cross shape of the bone here. But if I go to the girl, you see the structure is different. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's a new feature, I think, for the IK rigging. They don't have to be identical. And also, if you really pay attention to the name, so have, in this target, which is the girl, have the root, hips, span, right? But if I go to the mannequin, it has the root, pelvis, span. So the name is a little bit different. Yeah, so the pelvis is the kind of the center of the body. In the here in the target, the hips are the center of the body. Right? So the name is different, but that's okay. The another thing I like to point out is if I go back to show the target pose, they are already being automatically positioned or posed into the A pose. So this is done by the plugin, which is really nice. All right, so without select anything, I can actually change the target match offset to 0. So they two match pretty well. I have to say a little bit is why initially they do not match very precisely. If I do the editing mode, you will see I manually rotate some of the bones of the girl to make her match exactly like the mannequin. I think the original one, the span is kind of curved in the S shape, which is not exactly like the mannequin. As a result, I can show you the result. As a result of the mapping, I actually show you the end result first. The pose, let's say, doesn't look so natural, see, because the span kind of like a curved shape. So her body is kind of tilted forward. That just doesn't look very natural. The same thing when I generate all the animations, you can see the span kind of curved as well. So that make her running a little bit kind of strange, right? You don't really have the, the back looks like that when you run. It's always have, forward a little bit. So that's the reason I think is not a good idea. So I click edit mode. I manually rotate every bone, just make them match the whole pose, match as many as possible to the to the mannequin. So that's basically what I do, adjust this. So this will make the result much better. And I can show you actually the end result of the second, after the manipulation. If I look at the generated animations in the standing position, her back looks very natural. And as well as the running, if I go here, right? If I look at the back, there's no weird curve anymore. So this is important when you do the retargeting. You want to make sure these two characters, right, their mesh will kind of overlapping as close as possible. Okay, so I did this same for Leo. I just manually, added the bones to make sure they match. Okay, so once you do that, everything is set, then I will start to do the actual retargeting, right? So this is all rigged in this IK rig retargeter. So this is the name of this whole interface. So I save it, and then the next thing I'm gonna do is to actually do the retargeting. When you do retargeting, the animation generated automatically should translate from one skeletal mesh to another. The trick is, instead of going to individual animations, I could just simply convert or retargeting these two component animation BP. The reason is animation BP associated with many animations like walking, jumping. So if you're retargeting these two, it's pretty much just generating all the animations automatically. Okay, so here I will go ahead, find the animation BP here. Depends, for the girl or for the Leo is different, because the girl actually using the queen, the Leo is actually using the many, right? But in both cases, because queen is the children of the many, the animation BP, I think we cover this. She's the children of the many. Many is actually the father, not the partner. So so when you do the girl, you have to do both, because you do want to have the parent as well, right? So basically just holding, I will save all. So basically you just select both of them, and then you can right click, and then you can do retarget, and here you can duplicate retargeting animation. Or in fact, for the girl, you can just do the queen. It should automatically pick up the many. You don't have to select. Let's try. So if you do the retargeting, then you do the duplicate and the retarget animation asset, you have this interface, right? This interface will ask you, hey, where is the IK retargeter, which is the one we just made. So here, go back to the girl, to the, just want to show you. So this is the second one we just did, right? So select this guy, then you do load. Here we go. So they communicate very well. So I will map the queen to the girl. And also I will do a little bit, prefix. So you can do whatever prefix you like. It just make the naming convention more readable, because in Unreal you generate hundreds of files without a good naming. Some file could have identical name. This could be very bad, because you get confused which one to pick. And also sometimes system don't like two files with identical name. So always I do a little bit prefix. Okay, so it's gonna generate a bunch of new animation files under the folder game. Game is actually the content, the root folder of your library. So I will click retarget. Just make sure these two are correct, right? So retarget. So boom, you got a bunch of new files. So these all here, right? So you see, as I said, you got both Manny and Queen because Manny is a parent. And once you have this new animation, you can drag and drop into the folder I created here called animation 2. I would delete them since I already have this already. Yeah, I don't need them anymore. Yeah, I just keep things clean, right? So in animation 2, you already have a bunch of animation files generated. So it including this new animation BP. It has this both Queen and Manny. And also you have a bunch of new files. This is a blend shape 1D. And also you have a bunch of animations. If I open it, you can see the animation looks pretty nice. Just make sure the back is not blended weirdly. Okay, so we have this. All right, then the next thing we're gonna do is once you have this new set of animation BP, right? This is retargeted from the Queen, you generate a girl, and you see the naming convention I use is girl under dash, right? So now this is the one I want to use. The Manny, this is the pose for the male, and the Queen, this is the pose for the girl. There is override precisely here. For some reason, if the override is not kicking in correctly, you can definitely do this manually. Just make sure they point to the girl female idol and walking to the girl female run and walk. Okay, so I have this one done. The next thing we're gonna do is re-target this animation BP to replace the one in the palm. This is easy to do if we duplicate the original pawn and we create a new pawn. And then in the new pawn, we just update the skeletal mesh, we update the animation BP. Okay, so that's precisely what I did for the girl. And here you see this one is duplicated from the original pawn. So here, we can right click, duplicate, right? You have this robot duplicated. I rename it. Then I bring it here called BP girl. Open, you can see that's the new skeletal mesh I replaced right here. It was the robot. And here in the animation class, this is very tricky, right? You want to point to the new one you just generated. So point to this guy, right? This is the girl. And loading that in, then you have everything loaded. I do want to show you is if you for some reason pointed to a wrong one, you'll see it's just not being recognized. She will just have a T-pose, which is wrong. Okay, so make sure you point to the correct one. There should be a lot of new ones showed up since I did the retargeting multiple times. Just make sure you point to the correct one. And also you can control the movement speed. I reduced to 300. That's the reason she's walking instead of running. So now if I play, right, I do want to go to the world settings and I go to my BP third person game mode. In the default pawn class, right, I'm gonna just simply point to BP call. So this is the new pawn. If I play, I should be able to see the new character will show up with the correct IK. Okay, so here I can see her foot. I do want to mention a little bit is this is actually really handy with the Mixamo plugin because the plugin gives you this IK foot rig already. You don't have to redo it by yourself. What I mean is, for this animation BP, right? We know it's control rig is point to the foot IK control rig that make the foot in the right height. So here if I open the girl, And here, oh, she's the children of the parent. So I actually need to open the parent, right? So in the parent control rig, and here you see this control rig is actually pointed to this one provided by the plugin. If I search, I actually moved this guy here into the Maximal folder, but just want to shout out, it has a really nice way to set it up for you. You don't have to do it manually. But if you don't have this plugin, if you want to do it manually, which is doable, you just need to, go here, find the original rig. You just need to find the original food IK. Where is it? Here, right? Basic food IK. And here, you just need, number one, switch the mesh to your own mesh, right? Because the bone structure is different, so once you switch to a new mesh, you will see something gonna complain, the bone missing or something. In that case, you have to manually repoint, right, the bone to the correct foot or correct pelvis or hip. Just make sure you do this manually. Also, it's a good idea you actually duplicate the file, not destroy the original food IK, so you have a duplication. Yeah, that's how you do it without the plugin. Just change the schedule mesh, and then you manually update all the bone, all the names to match with the new rig. The reason I think we have to do this is if you really look at the bone, the bone here is quite different, right, from the bone we have for the Mixamo. If you recall, Mixamo don't have this kind of cross-shaped bone in the shoulder. It has it's more like a V shape, right? So that's the kind of time-consuming part you have to do manually. But anyway, I think we have this IK already solved. It's all linked to the correct skeletal mesh, and also everything is linked to the game mode, right? So here you can directly switch the pawn. I think that's it. This is pretty much the whole journey. You want to do IK rig retargeter, which is different from the old system. So the rigging, the bones of the two could be different. They will rely on the rig to transfer the animation. So animation BP remains to be the most important part. You'll have to understand. Also, as a quick conclusion, what I did manually is to make sure you adjust the pose to make sure they do match as close as possible. And I did a lot of tweak in terms of rotating of the bone, just make sure they precisely, this is the V shape I'm talking about. They precisely match each other, not precisely as close as possible. Then you have to be cautious when you evaluating this tool. Just make sure you run some of the animations, right? So you want to make sure there's no weird pose happening. It was before is a very bended bones on the back, so now it looks pretty good. Okay, so that's this is the correct version. But if I didn't do this, if I just rely on the original default, you will get a pretty weird shape. All right, I think that's it. I hope this long tutorial will be helpful for you to understand the animation of the rig character. We didn't cover anything about sequencer or how to keyframe these additional animations by hand or procedurally. I would encourage you just check out the Unreal online document. It has a lot of pretty cool demonstrations how to do this. It's a really big topic, so I hope you enjoy. See the this character is also actually I can use this last minute to talk quickly. If you don't do the manual adjustment, the original animation I have for the Leo, is pretty weird. You see he's standing, his shoulder looks a little bit too wide, and the back is just bended naturally. See that? And the same thing, when we apply the animation, and I think this is running forward, you see the back just looks so weird. So what I did is exactly the same. So here I manually adjust his bones to make him match as close as the Manny, the male version of the robot. Then after I do the retargeting, the new animation looks much better. So here you see the back looks very natural, right? There's no weird, well, it's still a little bit bent, but not as bad as the other one. So I have these two set of animation before and after, both provided here for you as a reference, right? So if you do want to, just check out the difference, you can see this bag looks very nice, but the other bag looks very bended, right? It's also the forward is a little bit too much. All right, these are the manners things. Cool. I hope you enjoy this video tutorial, and yeah, I will keep you posted on the new tutorials.